All right, everyone, it's Beard Regeneration Day. Every other year or so, you just shave it off, and for a while it comes in and it's actually even, and you don't have to trim it. I was trying to trim it last night, and then I'm like, fuck this shit, and just shaved it off. So it'll be nice and soft, at least for a little while. We have to talk about Trump's hiring so far. It's a little bit more hit and miss now, I think, with the Rubio announcement. And Stefanik, some people like her, some people fucking hate her. Overall, though, his hiring decisions this time around have been much, much better than they were in his prior term in office. One of the things, the one biggest thing I would say that was a problem about Trump's first administration was that he kept trying to hire neocons for various positions, people that are sort of outside of his own sphere, and then expected them not to lean on him and try to pressure him in one way or the other because he's like a core executive. And so he doesn't work well with that kind of person, number one. And number two, when he hires like Bolton and stuff, I knew why he had hired Bolton, but I still, like, in theory, on paper, I couldn't really support the concept. It's like, okay, this will be situationally helpful, but you do realize that Bolton is going to try to control you effectively on foreign policy. So far, we got Stephen Miller aboard. He's a core America Firster. That's a good one. Homan, working on the border, is probably so far the single best pick. But now we also have Kristi Noem, who's being tapped for a role. Now, Noem, her political career in the elected sense is fundamentally over. Because of the whole dog shooting book incident, Kristi Noem really, she's no longer capable of getting fundamentally elected. So instead, he put her in a cabinet position so as not to waste the talent. I have no problem with that. Kristi Noem is perfectly fine. One thing that I really liked the other day, Lee Zeldin heading the Environmental Protection Agency. That is an obvious troll, an obvious kickback, and a really good choice, ultimately. If you want deregulating the energy industry especially, yeah, Zeldin can probably get that accomplished. And I have a feeling that it's also to boost his chances, his name recognition in the future as New York becomes more of a swing state, oddly enough. Although, honestly, you should move to New Jersey. That was like a 5-point difference. It wasn't particularly overwhelming for the liberals. And again, that's fucking New Jersey. So then that brings us to Rubio. What do I think about hiring Marco Rubio as Secretary of State? In the pragmatic, hey, I can do this job sort of sense, I actually support it. Rubio is strategically on par with the upper echelon of people within Congress when it comes to tactics, effectively. And so in that particular sense, it's a good idea. The problem is I just can't bring myself to be a particular fan of Marco Rubio. There were other better choices that were available. I would have liked Tulsi Gabbard for that particular role, for example, and that really would have been a socket to the system sort of moment. With Rubio, you're sort of halfway there. He's sort of like a Cruz Republican. He's not a dedicated neocon. He tries to get along with MAGA, but the principle, I mean, the underlying ideological fabric of those actions, I think, is maybe less there. Zeldin and Miller and Homan and some of these others are A-plus choices. Rubio I would rate merely as being acceptable. Is it going to turn me off to the administration and start me grumbling? No. Were there choices that I would have preferred? Yes. But that's what's going to happen with any political movement. That's why I'm not a Republican. This is it's just sometimes they make mistakes. I don't know that Rubio's a mistake so much. It's just underwhelming, I suppose. But then again, we let's take a step back. We're basically comparing that hiring choice to Zeldin fucking running the EPA and Homan running the border. When you have extremely good picks like that, something that's merely acceptable looks lesser than it might look. And I don't know whether it's been fully and officially confirmed yet anyway. There was a short list that was released the other day, although it appears to be unofficial. But we knew that Rubio was being considered for that particular role. Overall, though, comparing it to the hiring choices of 2016, overall, in the long sense of things, way, way better. Ultimately, this is something that he's already accomplishing without even having taken office. And it was one of the main core concerns, I think, of a lot of people who are like, okay, I'm not going to vote for Harris because I fucking hate her. But I'm not 100% on Trump. You know, they're remembering like Pepe the Frog and mean tweets and stuff like that, and they're searching for that again. And so one of their concerns, I think, was, well, he's just going to do the same thing again with the hiring. He appears to be avoiding that. Kristi Noem's appointment is part of that too, I think, and also an amusing part of it. Now we need to get, hopefully, Kari Lake, Tulsi, and a few of these others, Ramaswamy, in the cabinet somehow, and find sort of a place for them. It looks like RFK Jr. is going to be in more of an advisory role, although that final decision doesn't appear to have been made. And then you have certainly Musk, Ron Paul, some of these others who aren't going to take cabinet roles or anything like that. They're just going to be working with the administration. So ultimately, Trump is doing a lot better this time around. That's the good news. It doesn't mean that every hire that he makes is going to be the perfect candidate for that position. Overall, though, when it was like maybe a C- in 2016, when you upgrade that to like a B+, yeah, that's pretty good. Again, the adults are back in charge. Now that the brats have been spanked and sent to a bed, finally people who are actually sane, more or less, most of them, are going to be effectively running the show. And with people especially like Noem and Zeldin, who will effectively owe their continued political careers to Trump, I can't imagine that they're in a position where they're going to try to be combative towards him. So I think they'll be a permanent fixture of the next 4 years of that administration. What happens with some of the other hirings remains to be seen. Overall, though, as a rule, good. That's about all. Peace out.